It's hard to talk about nutrition and vitamins without mentioning minerals. Vitamins and minerals seems to roll off the tongue as something that we need to get every day. And so let's talk a little bit about minerals. So something we need to recognize is that minerals are not organic. All right, so we have to create a whole new category here. We've talked about 5 different categories of organic substances that we need to get in our diet. Minerals is the one exception to this, where it's inorganic. These inorganic minerals fall into different categories, and I encourage you to just write these categories briefly in your notes as I go through them on this slide. The first is one that we can kind of ignore, these nutrients here that are in dark green, like carbon and nitrogen and oxygen and hydrogen. Those are 4 basic organic elements, and the reason they're called organic elements is because they are found in all organic molecules. So you're going to get enough carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen by eating your carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. So we don't have to really work hard to get those minerals. The ones that we're talking about here, these inorganic minerals, are shown in the other 2 shades of green. The sort of Kelly green, the quantity elements are things like phosphorus, sulfur, chloride, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and calcium. Now, I don't want you to memorize those. You don't need to know which category has which elements in it. But I would like you to know that quantity elements are elements that we need to get in a little bit more, a higher level. So we need to make sure we're getting enough of them in our diet. For the most part, it's not terribly difficult. The ones that can be difficult to get enough of are magnesium, calcium, and potassium. We sometimes have to work harder to get those to make sure we're meeting our body's needs. We tend to get enough sodium just because of the way we eat as Americans, and sodium is often paired with chloride, so usually those 2 we are okay with. And phosphorus and sulfur we also tend to get enough of. The other categories, we have the organics, which we're ignoring. We have the quantity elements, which we need in larger amounts. And then the ones that we need in relatively small amounts are what we call the essential trace elements. So trace elements referring to the fact that we don't need a whole lot of them in our diet in order to stay healthy. We already talked about how arsenic is an essential element. It's a mineral that we need to get, but we don't need very much of it, nor do we want very much of it. There are others here shown in kind of a neon green that show other trace elements that we need to get, like zinc and cobalt and copper and nickel and iron and manganese and molybdenum, etc. So making sure that we get enough of those in our diet. Iodine, for example, very important. If we don't get enough iodine, we get goiter, and so you need to be mindful that you're getting them, but like I said, we generally get enough in our diet. So these are the minerals that they're talking about when they talk about minerals. Not organic, because they're not molecules, they're just elements, right? But we do need to make sure that we're meeting our needs, and most of the time if we eat a diet that's balanced with fruits, vegetables, meats, we're going to be getting enough of these.